This video was absolutely about the Samurai, but we're starting with the Land Rover because there's some parts from the Land Rover, at least some parts that I intended to use on the Land Rover, that we're going to rebuild, and I think we're going to end up using them on the Samurai instead. So now, we're going to break loose this shock body and replace it with this one. See how this one's shorter? We need to put a shorter shock body on here.
Oh, okay.
Bilstein has been amazing in the way that they've been working with me to help solve my problem where these coilovers are just a little bit too long for the application. So they sent me some shorter parts to assemble that are going to make it to where my compressed measurement is like 1.5 inches to 2 inches shorter. And it's great that they did that, but I have realized that I don't really need coilovers for this truck. And here in a moment I'll explain what my thought process is, but sometimes I just need to step away from a project completely so that I can look at it with clarity and then I can decide on the best path forward. Today I want to hit two birds with one stone. I worked on that Samurai, we made progress, and that forward momentum made it to where when I came back and thought about this Land Rover, I had this huge moment of clarity. We don't need coilovers in this thing, but the cool thing is with the way that we've done these lower arms and everything, we've got a way better shock location than we had before by far. It's gonna be a lot more effective. For now, I'm gonna throw in some shocks that fit. I just wanna use an airbag. I don't know why I was so convinced that we need an airbag and a coil when airbags are perfectly reliable in many, many applications. So I'm going to find a larger diameter airbag that we can upgrade to in the future. For now, we'll just use a factory airbag. And this frees up these coilovers to solve a problem, not really a problem, to maximize packaging on our Suzuki Samurai. I want to move this front axle forward so bad, but there is a giant packaging problem with doing that unless we do leading arms. And I've never done leading arms on a build. I would love to do leading arms on a build, and it just so happens these coilovers are gonna work perfect for what I have in mind. So if we can push this front axle forward, it's gonna lengthen our control arms, which I really, really wanna do. It's going to make it to where the connection point on our suck down winch is gonna be like right below the winch itself, and it's gonna help move this pinion even farther away from the oil pan. It just solves so many problems. But then where do you put your coilover? I mean, look, the axle is like, if we move it forward 4 or 5 inches, there's nowhere to put a coilover. It's gonna go right into the grill. But if we use leading arms, so it's the same concept as trailing arms except reverse, then we're gonna be able to solve a ton of problems. Also, another problem I have is the radiator we're gonna use, which is back there. It's an XJ radiator. It's wider than the frame rails. So that's gonna go right into the space that we need to put our coilovers. But if we do leading arms and we have this exact size coilover, which was gonna work on the back of the Disco, it's gonna solve so many problems for us. So right now that's the plan. I'm gonna order some trailing arm stuff for the front. I think I'm gonna do trailing arms in the rear with these 16-inch travel coilovers from the TJ. And then we should have plenty of travel and a really nice ride. But right now, what I need to do is I need to bend up a whole bunch of tube to continue building all this down here. And if we have enough time, then I think we're gonna be able to build the mount for our leading arms too. I'm extremely eager to get an engine and transmission mounted into this chassis, but before we get there, I need to button up a few things in the front end. I want to have a really good idea of where the radiator is going to be located and what radiator we can use. And before I stuff an engine into this thing, I want to just make sure that we're going to have the clearance for all these other parts and pieces. And before we can put any parts and pieces in here, I have to have some sort of like a front skeletal system on this Samurai in order to support the weight and give us a place to mount engine mount. When it comes to fab work, there are big challenges with reveal, and I find it very important to take a lot of time. This took me a ton of time to put together the way I want to, because I wanted like roughly a 1/4 inch reveal here. Once we take the tape off and we mount this, we're gonna have a 1/4 inch reveal here. I want a 1/4 inch reveal on the top. And then whatever's on the bottom is on the bottom. That's going to kind of get masked and it'll blend in really nice. Like these gaps here, I couldn't make those perfect, but it's gonna blend in once we move this grill down. And as you can see, I even took a lot of time to make sure that the front of the grill protrudes past this section right here. And to be super, super clear, this is not structural right here. This is just, I wanted to take care of the cosmetics first. And now we can pop the hood, we can remove the grill, and we can start to build out all of the really important structure that is gonna go along with making a front end that's not gonna contort and flex all over the place. Especially, imagine, we've got a winch right here, and we do a side pull. We can't rely on just these lower 2 bars. We need a whole bunch of structure to keep this thing from like twisting the whole front end up. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. And I think that the next move is gonna be taking a piece of angle iron and running it right behind the grill. And that's gonna go right in front of our radiator. And then we can pull this radiator out. This is a Jeep Cherokee radiator, and we can see how it fits back there and decide if we wanna order another Jeep Cherokee radiator or if we want to order something custom. I find the controlled chaos of a build like this very stimulating, very therapeutic. I love the idea that we're inventing our own recipe. It's easy to follow a recipe that you see online. It's easy to just get a TJ or a YJ, throw it on tons, put an LS in it, and it's a recipe that's been done to death, and you can see all the trials and tribulations and exactly what parts to use in between, and you can look up pictures on how to do it. But with this, I love the controlled chaos of an aluminum body built in Canada. We've got a JDM front grille that I narrowed. We're gonna build our own front frame section, and we're going to use an engine out of a Volkswagen Jetta and the radiator out of a Jeep Cherokee. And you're gonna see even the headlights are not gonna be easy to locate. And what I came up with for that is I measured the size of the headlight. I found some bezels that are made for a motorcycle, ordered 2 of them, and now we have a way to mount headlights. This is not something that I can just go online and look how to solve these problems. And this week I ordered even more weird stuff from the Suzuki market in Malaysia, and I've got some stuff coming from India, and I ordered parts from Australia this week. This is controlled chaos, and I thrive on this. And so sometimes, like a video like this, it's going to seem short. There are so many hours that go into the planning and the problem solving with this. On my end, I love it. I know on your end, it might be a little frustrating to see some shorter videos that look like less progress, but I promise you, whenever this project is all wrapped up and all these different problems that we solved are working, it is so satisfying. I don't know how many comments I got last year in 2022, but in 2021, I got over 46,000. So I imagine it was even more. Now, I obviously can't read all the comments, but one thing that I saw continuously last year is a lot of you valued when I would show a mistake. So I could very easily not show this, but I bent this at a 25. I just guessed a 25. Go to close the hood, it's not gonna clear. I might be able to trim some things away in the hood to make it fit, but we're just gonna rebend it at like a 20-degree angle instead of a 25. And normally, I don't think you need to show this kind of stuff, but so many of you said that you like me showing mistakes. I'm gonna start doing that a lot more in 2023. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start bringing in a lot more people. I've got a lot of great local friends that would love to come and help me work on these projects, and I'm gonna farm some stuff out in order to make it that we could like get more stuff done this year. I've canceled big trips. We're doing a ton of work in the shop this year. So as far as the Samurai build, we need to add structure to make it to where, you know, if we take a hit at an angle, we've got tube connections between this tube and that tube. Right now, we just have like what is essentially like a trim piece connecting this stuff together. But before I start making all these really solid anchor points to make the front end of this super rigid, we've got to get the engine in there. So before we get the engine in there, we've got to build the engine. And after speaking of comments, in the last video, a bunch of you Samurai guys advised against using the Samurai transmission. I don't want to have to deal with the extra time that it's going to take to chop all this out, locate the new trans, build a new tunnel and all that. But we have to, honestly. I'm not comfortable with using such a small transmission in there. Many of you aren't as well. And the good news is if we use that TJ transmission, it's already proven for like 5 years of use behind the 180 horse version of the TDI that I did before. It's like 180 horse and like 340 foot-pounds. And there's even more room in those injectors to pump it up a little bit more if we choose to. So we're gonna build the engine to be really close to the same as it was before, but with a performance cam and a couple other small odds and ends. So this is gonna see a little bit more power than the TJ did before, and it's gonna be almost 1,000 pounds lighter. So this is gonna be pretty rowdy when it's all done. So it sucks right now because it's gonna be more work before, I wanna get this done before Easter Jeep Safari this year. So we've got like 3 months-ish, but I think that it's gonna be worth it long-term to have a stronger transmission, and obviously many of you feel the same way. So the next episode, we're gonna build out our engine, we're gonna connect it to the transmission, we're gonna cut out our trans tunnel, we're gonna get everything in there. Hopefully we have enough time to get all of our mounts and everything designed and built for the transmission and the engine. And then once we locate the coilover location, we need to get those front leading arms. Once we get the leading arms in and we get them built, we can locate those coilover locations, then we can pull everything out and we can finish making this super rigid and making it to where it's like this one super strong cohesive unit. Anyway, last thing before we go, I've been getting a bunch of questions about my new sweatshirt and the beanie and stuff. You just go on our website, thedirtlifestyle.com. We have all of it for sale on there, and it's a great way to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.